This is the Plant-Based Morning Show. We are back, better than ever. Hopefully, I hope we're better than ever. It seems to me that we are getting better with each day we do this show, but only the audience can really decide that. Anyway, that's the update. There's really not a whole lot of updates today. I went to therapy this morning, physical therapy for some back pain that I've continued to have. Actually, more back tightness, stiffness, due to bad kettlebell swing form a year ago or so. I think I was unknowingly doing a little damage, but getting that taken care of. But anyway, feel good. Moved around, stretched around a bit. There's Doug. How's it going, Doug?
Hey, Matt. Good morning. We're back, better than ever.
We are.
But your back's not back, or is it
No.
Is it coming back?
My back is fine. Back is really. It's not. It's taken me a year to start doing this because it's not any sort of urgency, but. It just I can't really. I can do any kind of activity. I just can't stand still for a long time. If I try to watch my kids play soccer, if I stand in one place for like half an hour, I like can't move for a minute until I sort of stretch out. It's like everything seizes up. But as long as I'm moving,
what do they have you doing?
Well, today was the first day, so he really just kind of assessed it and did a bunch of stretches and things: hamstring, hip tightness, hip flexors. I don't know. He doesn't know exactly what it is. It could be a couple things, but he's just trying to stretch everything out. Says the treatments are sort of all the same for these different things it could be. But I know what it was. I was doing kettlebell swings, one-arm kettlebell swings, and I was, although I had a lot of the form dialed in, I think I was making one mistake, and that was I was allowing my hips to sort of turn with the kettlebell. They would sort of follow the kettlebell, and I think that movement was a bad one. I learned later that you're supposed to keep everything really nice and straight. So anyway, I can still do two-arm swings, but I'm just careful with doing one arm. But like I said, it's fine. Doesn't really mess me up or anything other than standing. So anyway, enough about my back. That is not interesting.
Well, I had a great morning. I had mornings this morning.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What did that entail?
Got up, did my early run, and it was just me and one other guy today. Everybody slept in. And it was cold. I don't know, has it gotten cold in Charlotte? I'm sure it has.
We've had a couple cold days, yeah.
The last couple, after a couple weeks of beautiful spring-like weather, the weather has shifted. Today it was like 28 degrees or something, 38 degrees maybe this morning, and there was just a gentle snowfall. Yet the moon was out in full force today, and it was just quiet and peaceful. I don't know, it's just one of those days. So you're like, man, life is good. You know?
Doesn't being with someone else ruin it though? Ruin that moment? That's like such a special thing. Could be.
Well, that was the best part. Is we're at two different paces, so we ran together for about 10 minutes to hang out and talk, since it was just the two of us, and then we split. And so had this nice like little social interaction in the morning. Kind of woke me up, got a little bit of the community aspect going, and then off on my own into the stillness of the morning.
I like that. Good. Very nice way to do it. Did you get a creek dip afterwards?
Of course. Always.
Yeah. Always. Yeah. Okay. Good. You're serious about that. That's a serious habit of yours.
It is. Yeah.
I like it.
I am.
Good. Good for you. Well, the regulars are here. Mr. Jeffrey, Dale Stevens, Anne Marie, Drew Designs, Jody Shuck. They're all saying good morning. Drew's giving us his own weather report, 32 degrees and sunny.
Excellent.
I don't know where Drew lives. Do you?
I do not. Let us know.
Based on that weather, it's not probably Australia or South America.
Yeah, it could. Probably not Mexico either.
No, probably not anywhere near the equator. So we've ruled out 2/3 of the Earth.
There you go. Well, that's a good start. Hey, I've got some Discord news.
Okay, good. Did you do the open mic in there?
What's that?
Did you do open mic night in there yesterday? Did you go in and just lounge it around?
I didn't. No, I think I'm gonna do it this afternoon though. This afternoon just feels like I'm just in such a good mood. I just want to hang out with people, So,
okay.
So I think this afternoon will be perfect. But I added 2 new channels this morning.
Oh, good.
Plant-based advice if you have advice for people, or if you have questions. If you're new to the diet or not new to the diet, but just have some questions about something that you want to talk. Talk vegan stuff, and then the Ask Matt and Doug channel.
Oh, good.
Where we're hoping that people will submit a bunch of questions that we can cover on the show. It can be anything. It can be fitness or nutrition related. could be about.
It could be plant-based advice. It could be the other channels.
It could be
questions.
plant-based advice. There you go.
Right.
So anything you want us to answer, we will filter some of them. I'm not gonna say we'll answer anything, but we'll answer just about anything, including personal stuff, I'd say.
Yeah, we should do one day and ask me anything. Maybe that'll be like a bonus episode where it literally is anything. We will answer anything you want.
Anything you want. Oh wow. Okay. Let's do it.
All right. Drew Design says Spokane, Washington. Is that how you pronounce that word? That I think looks like Spokane. I think it's Spokane, right?
Spokane. Yeah, sounds right.
I think so.
Sure.
Yeah, I believe that weather report then, based on that. Yeah. Okay. Good. So anyway, anything else, Doug? Anything else to report new? I meant to report over the weekend. I had 3 vegan meats on the weekend, even though I'm growing more and more against them. I had an Impossible Whopper on Sunday afternoon. Dropped my daughter off at a birthday party, and I was just starving, so I went and got that. And then came home and I had, this isn't really vegan meat, one of those Hodo. Is it Hodo? Hodo? Yeah, tofu burgers, which are pretty much my favorite, like healthy veggie burger on the planet right now.
You ever had them? What that is? No, I don't think so.
They are in Publix. I'm pretty sure they're in other places as well, like Harris Teeter, but I know for a fact they're in Publix. It's just a veggie burger. It's just a tofu patty, but it's like browned on the outsides. I don't know if that means it is fried a little bit or something, but it's just like a brown tofu. So if I put that in a little Frank's Red Hot
tofu.
Yeah, it's tofu. So inside of it looks like the inside of tofu, like it's just white and crumbly. But the way it is browned on the outside makes it nice. It's not like a breading. It just somehow cooked. So you just heat it up in a pan and then put it on a sandwich, and some buffalo sauce or some Frank's Red Hot, tomato, lettuce. That just is a delicious sandwich.
I would not, if it's just tofu, I would not include that in the vegan meat.
Yeah, it's really not. You're right. You're right. And then I had one little crab cake from Good Catch Seafood, vegan crab cakes. And you know what? It wasn't as good as it was before. Before I had a whole sandwich of it and like a tartar sauce we made and all this stuff. This one, Holden was having a sandwich of it, and I was just having one because I had already eaten. And it wasn't as good as I thought before. I had said before it was identical to crab. This was certainly, if you have it on its own, certainly not identical. Still pretty good. I mean, it was great on the sandwich, but I have to retract that a little bit.
Wow, you've said that many times. I've even quoted you.
I know. I mean, still excellent vegan meat, but it's not identical like I thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I did that, and then yesterday, Erin made, thanks to your inspiration, she made lentil-aroni from Isa Does It. Except we didn't have rotini, so we used spaghetti noodles. But
how was it?
It was great. I missed that meal. Haven't done that in a long time. I haven't made lentils in a very long time. So now I've done both of those things.
And I got home last night kind of late, and not late, but I had some things I had to do, and so I missed dinner with the family, and I got home and the family had already eaten, and all we had was like leftover homemade lentil soup and then some noodles. And I combined the two, and it was actually delicious. It was like lentil soup beefed up with a bunch of noodles, and it was actually really, really good.
Yeah, I believe that. Good. Sounds like, I don't know. It sounds like something, but I can't think of what that sounds like. Maybe like a Cincinnati chili kind of deal.
Yeah,
where you put some chili mac. I don't know.
Chili mac.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
You ever make chili mac?
No, that sounds right up my alley.
Yeah, it is pretty good. I mean, it's just chili mixed with noodles.
All
right. Well, let's jump into some show content. Unless anybody else from the audience has anything to tell us, any updates or anything that we need to know before we get started here.
We got some comments here. As from Dale Stevens, sounds like Hodo. When you say it, forgot what movie that's from. Oh wait. Had barbecue tofu. This is Drew Designs. Had barbecue tofu at a local place this weekend with some half-price beer. Not NA beer, but half-price beer. That's my kind of beer.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
Hodor. I don't know what Hodor is. I'm trying to figure out that kind of stuff. I'm going to Google that one. Oh, from Game of Thrones. So I wouldn't know. I don't watch that kind of nerd stuff.
Nerd stuff.
No, I just don't get involved in that. I don't get involved in that. Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, any of that. If it's by J.R.R. Tolkien or anything like that, I don't touch it. Just stay away.
Dude, Lord of the Rings is not nerd stuff. Not Lord of the Rings might be. Oh,
The
what did
Hobbit,
you just say? No.
The Hobbit, Lord of
Wait,
the Rings.
Hodor is Lord of the Rings or Hodor is
No, Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones? Game of Thrones isn't nerd stuff, man.
It is, and so is Star Wars, and pretty much any other beloved thing like that. I don't know. I was just shielded from that. I just never got involved in any of that. Never saw any one of those movies. None of it.
Yeah,
I don't know. It just was different.
That's why you're so fun, Matt.
Yeah, I know. I guess
All
so.
right.
Okay, good. All right, jumping in. One piece of big news, one piece of not big news. Let's start with, this is the weather report, by the way, for this Tuesday, March 14th. Pi Day, by the way. We didn't mention Pi Day, Doug.
Oh yeah, Pi Day. That was yesterday?
No, today, 3/14.
Oh, today.
Yeah,
it's Pi Day.
You can
today.
eat some pie tonight?
I might have a pizza pie.
Yeah, you still might. You haven't figured out what you're eating yet for dinner?
No, I haven't figured it out. Katie's at the grocery store now, so I'd be into some pizza pie tonight. Pi Day. Yeah. Are you gonna have some pie?
No, I'm not gonna have pie. I don't know what I'm gonna have, but it's not that. We have a couple things in mind, and none of them are that.
None of them are pie.
No.
Have you ever made vegan pot pie?
I think I must have at some point. Why? Have you?
I don't know.
I think we did. We did a vegan like shepherd's pie once, where there's like a layer of mashed potatoes on top of stuff, which I don't really get that whole thing, honestly.
I was always a chicken pot pie. That was a staple in my family growing up.
Yeah, I would get that at school lunches, and it was always pretty good.
Yeah.
All right.
I always enjoyed that.
Weather report. So let's start with the not big news. The not big news is that there's a new textbook that has been released by the Cellular Agriculture Society called Modern Meat, and it's the world's first textbook on cultivated meat. The textbook says Modern Meat aims to pave the way for future courses on cultivated meat, serve as a guide to both newcomers and experts, and bolster cultivated meat's growing academic sphere across the globe. 100 authors contributed from 18 countries. So further buttressing my stance that cultivated meat is where we are headed, and we're moving away from this plant-based fake meat stuff that I mentioned. I think that's on the way out, and I think this is on the way in. That's just my prediction for the next 5 years. The bigger news, much more exciting, is that Veg News has reported today, based on a study published in the Journal of Nutrition, that plant-based protein supports building muscle during resistance training as much as an omnivorous diet. This is from a University of Exeter study in the UK and University of Texas medical branch. They looked at young adults, male and female, in 2 different phases. They ate omnivorous versus fully plant-based diets, and made sure they hit the protein numbers they were trying to hit, whatever they were. Did some leg resistance exercise, and then in another phase, another progressive resistance program, and they determined there was no significant difference between the 2 diets. So can't say the plant-based diet is like a miracle that suddenly makes everything better. Doesn't make muscle grow faster, but it certainly doesn't hinder you, according to this study. And that builds on a previous study that showed something similar, that eating plant-based protein with soy supplementation can build muscle mass as much as those who eat animal products and whey protein powder. That's from the Sports Medicine Journal. So there you go. We kind of already knew this, but the evidence is trickling in, and it's good when we hear this, because it's easy for those doubts to creep into your mind, and I'm always glad to hear this.
Do you know if they were eating the same amount of protein, like, or the ratio was the same?
I did not look that closely. I would assume that yes. I think I did glance at it, and I think they matched things up, and it just the source changed. Because that would be kind of an interesting. I mean, that would be another thing to say. It's like a plant-based person versus an omnivorous person. Just the standard diet they might fall into. You'd expect the plant-based one to be lower than one that has animal products in it, in protein. Right. And it'd be interesting to know what happens there. But I'm pretty sure they wouldn't yet be quite so, quite so loose in the study. But I'm not sure. I have to check that out. Look into that closer.
Cool. Well, I don't know. That's good to. Those studies are nice reassurance.
Yeah, I think so. Because we've said this many times, but when it comes to endurance, there's very little doubt these days. There's just been enough people who have done great in endurance sports with a plant-based diet that there's really not much reason to doubt that. But with strength training, plant-based athletes are doing great in Olympic stuff, powerlifting, all that. It's just new enough that like you still, and so counterintuitive still, that like you don't actually need all this to eat muscle in order to put on muscle.
Right.
So it's good that it keeps seeming to be proven over and over that it doesn't matter.
Yeah, awesome, love it.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of studies and articles about studies, I in AI, big leap here. Yesterday I was reading an article about a study, and I was trying to summarize it, and was kind of getting caught up a little bit. So I was like, oh, I should ask ChatGPT to summarize it for me, and shared the link and asked them to summarize it in like 300 words or something, and it just got it completely wrong. It talked about the study being by a university that wasn't at all part of the study. It started talking about it like it somehow brought in that all of the participants were from China and they weren't. They were from Australia. Like it was so wrong. I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't believe it. And I wrote back. I was like, "You got this all wrong." And they're like, "Oh yeah, sorry. Let me try again." And it just did it again. You know?
I mean, so first of all, I thought the ChatGPT like wouldn't. Well, I guess it can go look at links you give it, but like it was trained on all this data from 2001 and prior, right? So if you just ask it general knowledge questions, I think it only has that to draw on.
2001 and prior?
No, sorry, 2021. I meant.
Oh, okay, that's better.
So I think it doesn't have very recent things to draw on. Like if you ask it about news, I don't think it can tell you about that.
Okay.
Or if you say plan the plant-based morning show, for me, it doesn't do a good job with that either. It doesn't suddenly make it so you don't have to work
you've
anymore.
tried that. Oh, that's funny.
But that's, so I guess I'm sure if you just feed it a link though and say, go check this out, it can treat it as any other block of text and just read it.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's crazy. How can it be so smart at some things and like just not even close on?
Yeah, it was very, very bad. So I don't know.
I was not ready to be rolled out yet. I've decided all that hype. Was not ready.
I think, what I think, we're going to go down an AI rabbit hole here, but I think that, you know how crypto had its moment in like 2021, mid pandemic, where everyone was talking about how crypto is the future of everything.
Yeah.
And now everyone's talking about how AI is the future of everything. I think pretty soon that this AI bubble is going to burst. And I mean, I think it will, just like I actually think crypto will play a role in stuff.
Yep.
Moving forward forever. I just think that this like assumption that we should be using AI for everything is not going to last very long. Because just like it keeps messing up.
Yeah, I think you're probably right, and we said that about plant-based meats as well, right? We said they had this bubble, they got overhyped, the expectations got too big, too fast, and now it's kind of got to rebuild and question assumptions, shake out the players that weren't fit to win. And that's probably happens with all industries, right? I mean, I don't know, but anything. So certainly, I could see that happening. I would not be surprised at all. Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's amazing how great that tool can be for certain things. So I would assume this isn't too hard of a fix to like get it to overcome this basic issues, but maybe that's wrong. And yeah, you're probably right. I bet it probably will. The hype will die down a bit, and then it will take us over once we're not aware and looking at it so much. And then we'll lose all sovereignty and everything. Well,
if we start with today's first story, then it maybe be okay if AI took over, because we might be better off.
All right. Well, we love a good lawsuit story on this show. We should have like a little legal, like a gavel or something sound effect.
Oh yeah, that's good.
For these things, I'm gonna try to do that while we do it here. But anyway, the headline that you sent me, was this from your mom, Doug, or you found this on your own?
I found this one on my own.
Oh, okay. Here's some gavel hits for you. Well, there we go. All right, court is in session. I don't know what that
court is in session.
All right, man sues Buffalo Wild Wings, claiming boneless wings are simply chicken nuggets. And I mean, we talked a lot about some of these silly lawsuits. Texas Pete not being from Texas, some sort of pasta not being made in Italy, as the label kind of implied. This one actually seems the least frivolous of all to me. I think we've also talked a lot about labeling and product naming, and plant-based. Can you call the plant milk or whatever? Can you call plant meat sausage? Well, can you call chicken breast in the shape of a nugget? Can you call that a boneless wing? I don't think so.
Well, isn't that what boneless wings are, though? I mean, isn't it pretty common knowledge that a boneless wing is not a wing that had the bone removed?
I don't know if that's common knowledge. Because if you had asked me before I read this, what is a boneless wing? I probably would have said that I bet there's a lot of places just sort of imitating it, but that there must have come from something. Maybe there was a bone removed wing. That's probably that would have been my guess. That at some point they were making them.
At some point that was, maybe at some point there was. I have assumed this for a long time and kind of known it. I thought that was what people just understood a boneless wing was. And I even Googled. I said, like, what is a boneless chicken wing? And it's a piece of chicken breast that is breaded and fried.
Oh, so that's like the definition.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, it had to come from somewhere, I guess. Is that Law and Order?
Oh, there's it again. Okay. All right. So now we can really crack this case. Let's get down to business here. All right. So Halim says in the complaint, the products are not wings at all, but instead slices of chicken breast meat, deep fried like wings. Instead, the products are more akin in composition to a chicken nugget rather than a chicken wing. They also cite a New York Times article that reported that selling boneless wings became more popular due to the rising cost of chicken wings, while the cost of chicken breasts decreased. So now we've got a motive established here.
Oh.
So if we can get what else you need? The loot, the warrant, and the no. Did you watch Carmen Sandiego as a kid? That show where they try to find the
yeah. Uh-huh.
You needed three things, and it was like the loot, the warrant, and the crook. I think. I guess the motive wasn't part of that. Okay. Anyway. So what do you think here, Doug? Are you saying that chicken wings are defined as this thing that isn't boneless wings are defined as breasts with breading on them?
I mean, so it is misleading, right? It is misleading, right? I'm sure as a kid or a teenager or something like that.
Right. Is there consumer confusion? And I think among kids.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Definitely consumer confusion. Because breast meat is different than wing meat. Is that right? I mean, are they different?
Yeah, I think it's white meat and dark meat. I think
white meat and dark meat. So I mean, I guess if you're expecting a wing, I don't know.
Yeah, that's the question. Is there actually? Are you wronged by getting this higher quality meat? Probably. But see, if that's the case, then they wouldn't have this motive of swapping it in. But see, the rising cost, the chicken wings became more expensive.
I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? Frivolous, but I mean, it sounds sort of frivolous, but I don't know. It's kind of related to the stuff we were saying, right? Like, can you mislead the consumer like that?
Mm-hmm.
Not mislead, but help them. And it all comes down to whether or not they are confused, and we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm getting disgusted just thinking about it. Honestly, thinking about the all those wings and.
I did see at the bottom of this headline, or this one, another headline: man charged for impersonating Safeway agent, stealing $432,000 worth of crab. He pretended to be a Safeway employee in Washington, near Drew Design's place, probably, and ordered nearly $500,000 worth of crab in an effort to transport the seafood.
Wow,
interesting, right?
Yeah,
things people will do.
We got a motive. We got the crook. Right. And they got the loot, probably.
Yeah, probably did. I don't know if the loot was ever actually shipped. I think they figured it out before that. Anyway.
Hey, Mr. Jeffrey calls out. I heard yesterday that the UN predicts the world will be at 10 billion people by 2050, and the only way to feed them is if everyone is the majority of people are vegetarian.
I mean, I've not heard that exact stat. It's 10 billion by 2050. I mean, that sounds about right. I don't know. Just what are we at? 8 billion now? 7?
8 billion, yeah.
And I feel like we were at 6 billion when we were teenagers, or 7. I don't know. So that exponential sort of growth sounds about right to me. We've seen some interesting analyses about things. I think mostly about cultivated meat. Maybe they're also talking about just plant-based meat, which is not necessarily cell cultured. But where they said things like that these countries that are developing, China, India specifically, where they have massive populations, and that as they become more and more well off, the taste for meat develops, and it's just a status thing and the luxury food, and people want beef, and there literally is not enough space on the planet, totally aside from climate change issues or anything like that. Like there's just not enough room to make that much meat. So either the cost will get really high, probably the cost will get really high of the real thing, and there will be this cultivated substitute that hopefully is cheaper. But yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think your cellular meat, if it, I mean, 2050 is 30 years from now or 25 years from now, like that will almost certainly be a massive part of the meat industry by that point.
Right. But if that asteroid hits on Valentine's Day 2046,
that's right,
then we'll all be saved. We don't have to worry about
it. Doesn't even matter. Yeah, doesn't even matter.
We'll all be good. Maybe we'll probably have colonized Mars by then anyway. So,
I haven't finished. I started calculating how much I needed to earn to be able to like retire at a point to be able to enjoy the last 10 years of life before we all die when the asteroid hits. And I didn't quite finish it out yet, but inflation kind of screwed me up. But anyway,
I mean, I feel like you can kind of just float, right? You can just rack up a ton of debt, and you don't need the money because you'll never have to pay it back.
That's a good point. It's a good point.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into some actual serious content here. Well, as serious as we can when we're talking about eat this, not that. This is 5 daily habits to speed up muscle growth as you age. And this is something I've been thinking about recently. Just I haven't yet noticed that I can't put on muscle the way I used to. In fact, I used to I was one of those high metabolism people that could not gain weight without serious effort. And if I wanted to put on muscle, like in college, I failed until I just stopped running and started basically eating a terrible diet full of calories, cheese, pizzas, all these frozen things from college grocery store I would buy. And then I could put on muscle. Well, now, having been vegan for, 12, 13 years, I think that's part of it. Sorry. When I did that, that made it even harder to put on muscle. But nowadays, like, I don't have that much trouble putting on weight. And I think it's just that you get older, metabolism slows down, and now I have like a normal pace metabolism. So I feel like I'm actually successful at adding muscle when I try to, despite, still eating a diet that's relatively not calorically dense at all compared to what you could do if you were willing to be very unhealthy. So that's been a sort of nice thing. I feel like this is a good thing for me. So I haven't had this trouble yet, but I would imagine it's coming. The facts are you start losing muscle mass once you get over 50, and I'm not there yet, but so anyway, I've just been thinking about this stuff.
Getting close.
Yeah, kind of close. No, not too close yet. But here we go. So this is what to do if you're trying to build muscle. If you want to build muscle, have some protein every few hours. This is number one. You may be surprised to hear that protein is in every single tissue and cell in your body. Not that surprising, but therefore you need it every 3 hours, according to this guy.
Every 3 hours.
20 grams of protein every 3 hours. Stimulate muscle protein synthesis throughout the day. Okay, I guess that seems like a whole lot of protein, because that means if you're awake for 15 hours and you're eating on either end of that, which I assume you are, then I think that means you're getting 6 feedings during that time. That would be 120 grams of protein if you didn't have any other things in between there. I mean, I guess that's an okay amount. It's kind of a lot. More than I would want to get in a day. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess if you want to put on muscle, then sure.
What 20 grams of protein? I don't know. It's been so long since I've like tracked any of that stuff. I can't even like picture what is an Impossible Burger have?
That's
like
probably in that
protein,
20,
right?
25 range. I don't know.
So if you were eating like a rice and bean bowl for lunch, with some veggies on top, like
yeah,
I
think so. I think if you got whole grain brown rice, which I think is probably a little higher protein than white, and if you put a decent amount of beans on there, let's say a cup of beans, I think you're probably going to get close to 20. The beans, they change amounts. I don't know for sure. You can look that up. But if you have some veggies too, I think you'll probably get close enough. The problem is that.
But you have to do that every 3 hours.
It's really hard to eat a protein-efficient diet, as they call it, when you eat plant-based, because those proteins come with complex carbohydrates and probably some fats. So, like, that's a lot of calories that you take in. And then you will gain muscle just by eating all those calories. So, I mean, I don't know. I guess it makes sense, but I feel like this recommendation is for someone like who's going to go eat like half a chicken breast or something every 3 hours. And that's the type of thing I was trying to do back in those college days.
Just one serving of complement protein is 15
There you
grams
go.
of protein. So
Nice little ad. Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to try sometime one of these, like once I put on some muscle, one of these bodybuilder cutting diets and see what happens. Where you just eat like veggies and some protein every now and then, like protein powder, but you can't really eat like normal protein source because it comes with too much carbohydrate. I'm really curious to try that.
You just want to get cut?
Well, once I put on some muscle, I'm gonna show off those guns and stuff. Before beach season, I'll do that maybe.
Yeah, we'll maybe.
See. All right, on to number 2. This one we're not going to do, Doug.
You're not going to.
Barring a breakthrough in fermentation technology, which they may be able to do, but I don't know if they're trying it or not. Eat a snack with casein protein before heading to sleep. So casein protein, they say, if you're unfamiliar with casein protein, it's time to get familiar. According to Muscle and Fitness, casein is a protein that takes a longer time to digest, slow-releasing protein, therefore incredibly beneficial when it comes to repairing your muscles as you catch some Z's. So I do believe that. I'm not doubting that it helps put on muscle growth. This is the protein, though, that is vilified in Forks Over Knives by T. Colin Campbell, I think, primarily, saying that this is the single one that in dairy that is the problem, the one that is causing the cancers and the link between dairy products and especially prostate cancer. But I think even like colon cancer, he may lump in there. So anyway, like this I don't know. This has just always been a red flag for me. Like ever since then, because I think I was still vegetarian when that movie came out and not yet vegan. But I think I remember like every now and then you'll see casein in something that is otherwise meant to be a healthy product. And it's just, for me, it was like, wow, absolute red flag. But anyway, so it's just weird. So anyway, if it is, a lot of times these proteins that are linked to tumors and things are the same ones that are linked to growth in muscles. And so, and it's due to the way they increase the body's production of IGF-1, which is insulin-like growth factor, that hormone that has these links to growth. So like, it's easy to always conclude like, well, yeah, it promotes growth, I guess. It helps baby cows grow from 0 to 1,000 pounds. Like, not that surprising that it would A, help humans grow muscle, and B, help growth that you don't want to happen, which is tumor growth. Now, that's a huge leap to think that growth of one of those things is related to growth of another one, but it would be the story that is told with it, at least. And the science does seem to demonstrate that to some extent. I Googled this, by the way, and said, casein and cancer and just what is there? And there was some broad links of dairy products to specifically prostate cancer. And I think it was whole milk specifically to, as far as like very, very broad, like just all consumption of dairy products to all cancers, very little general association. But if you get down to those specific things, you can find some things.
Some links.
Yeah. So anyway, even if I wasn't vegan, I would not be doing this. That's just too scary for me to get involved with. I do use the animal-free whey protein, and I don't know if it does anything, but I like it. Just kind of seems like I'm eating something substantial after a workout. But that has no casein in it, because casein and whey are like separate parts of milk protein. So there you go, Doug. You can be adding that to your.
There you go.
Time?
Not I'm skipping this one, man.
Yeah.
Skip right over number 2 here.
Even if it would help you get those pull-ups.
Even if it would help me get the pull-ups, yeah, I'd rather be stuck on my pull-up regimen than have cancer.
Yeah, true. All right. Number 3, make progressive strength training your main focus at the gym. And then what this means, I thought there was more to this, but what it means is you want to get stronger over time. You want to be able to increase the amount of weight that you do each time you're at the gym. Not each time, but you want to be trending upwards. So you can't just expect to grow muscle by lifting the same weight. Maybe if you did it more and more times, I could see that growing muscle. But that load needs to increase over time if you want to actually keep adding muscle, and that makes sense. Your body's only going to grow as much muscle as it needs to do the things you're asking it to do, and then it's going to stop for lots of good reasons. So no real shocker there.
Well, I actually think that this is kind of terrible advice, and you can disagree with me here, but this is when you gradually increase the amount of weight you're using each time. So I mean, that would mean like every time you go to the gym, you add a pound or 2.
Yeah, I read that, And I think I even read that out loud right now. And like, I don't know if that's what he meant, but you're right. If that's, I mean, that's like the Tim Ferriss method of like in 4 Hour Body, how to like get huge is like force yourself to increase the weight, and you just no other option. And if you fail, you just go home from the gym. Um, so I don't know if that's what he meant. I mean, maybe he just meant like gradually increase over time.
Yeah. I mean, overtime. Overtime is better than each time, I guess.
The problem is over 50 though. I mean, yes, this is probably going to help you build the most muscle, but like you're also injury susceptibility goes up for sure. So
Totally.
if you're doing this, you're kind of playing with fire a little bit, and you're going to get injured, and then you're going to lose all your muscle very quickly. So I'd be careful here. Might find a good amount of muscle and then just be happy with that, and then stop increasing the weight.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Aisha says, no, not each time, but like once a month. Check in, increase by 2 pounds.
See, Aisha is sensible. She likes that idea too of going for a 1 rep max every 3 months or so. So I appreciate Aisha and her advice.
Lots of not lots, but a couple of comments bashing number 2 as well. Hard pass on number 2.
Oh yeah. But let's not say it doesn't work, right? I'm not here to just say like if it's not plant-based, it can't be right. Because it's very possible that it does help you grow muscle. But I don't know, especially once you get age 50, like long-term health just becomes a priority you're thinking about a lot more. So I'd watch out for this. Kate, aka Rivercat, says, "Isn't dairy whey protein linked to osteoporosis?" I've heard a lot about that. In Forks Over Knives, they put up a nice little chart that shows bone fracture, or maybe it's osteoporosis specifically. They show those rates by country, compared with how much dairy the countries consume. And sure enough, there's this direct relationship between osteoporosis rate and dairy, which is the opposite of the story that most of us are told, which dairy having calcium should prevent that sort of stuff. I've heard some criticisms of that graph, that was an association or a causation, not correlation. Sorry, correlation, not causation. And I've heard other things too. But I've also since then, like in the past few months, saw something suggesting the same thing as Kate, aka Rivercat, just said. So perhaps there is some more sound science demonstrating what T. Colin Campbell was getting at then. And the mechanism by which I've heard that happens is that this is that pseudoscientific kind of thing, the acid alkaline thing, which I don't totally buy into, but some of it I do, is that when your body's that acidic from the dairy products, which are acid forming in the body, supposedly, your body then needs to leach calcium from the bones in order to balance out its pH, because the minerals in the bone would be alkaline, I guess. And that over time causes bone weakness. So anyway, we should look into that more. I'd be curious to know if there's anything to that. Okay, moving on to the next one. Let me find it here. Okay, number 4, bump up your physical activity. Boosting physical activity overall outside of the gym. Smart idea. Opt for the stairs instead of the escalator or elevator. Park further away. Toss the ball around with your dog outdoors. All these things. Setting movement reminders every 30 to 60 minutes. The interesting thing about this is like this is the opposite of what I had to do when I couldn't put on muscle before. I had to stop running, lessen physical activity. And I've heard like in the Tim Ferriss thing about putting on weight or putting on muscle, it's the same thing. Like you do not want to do more activity than the things that are specifically meant to increase the muscles that you're trying to grow. And it makes sense because you don't want that caloric deficit. You want this surplus, and you don't want to use those calories, going for a run. So if you're talking about someone who's like frail, and we're saying any movement is good because it's going to mean muscle use and muscle growth, I get that. But you could be 50 years old and just trying to add 20 pounds of muscle, and maybe you don't need to increase your activity level to do that goal.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I guess it depends on your right. Are you trying to speed up muscle growth in general, or like combat muscle deterioration, or are you trying to bulk up?
Right.
And those are two different things, I think.
And finally, number 5 probably would not help the guy who's trying to just bulk up, or the woman who's trying to bulk up. Establish a chore schedule, because chores may get a bad rap for being pretty boring, but they're a great opportunity to up your fitness game. So make a chore schedule, do at least one indoor or outdoor chore each day. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This sounds to me like a way to do number 4, to bump up your physical activity.
Right.
Man, I don't know. I mean, I get this for like, if you're trying not to die, like, yeah, do some activity, like garden or take out the trash. And if you're also focusing on like progressive overload at the gym and you're eating casein before bed because you're just trying to put on muscle, you're gonna squat the window, that's gonna be a big help. I don't know. I don't know what that one.
Yeah, so this is the one I caught out yesterday that I liked, and just because it like I like it because it's just such a draft. Like this article is funny because it goes from like a kind of hard hitting muscle growth things to like move a little bit, park away, further away, and do your chores, vacuum, clean under the couch. I just thought it was really pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean,
but I actually, so not the chore schedule, but we talk about this all the time. But I just find that when I do something that is just different movements than what I typically do, whether it's like, I don't know, something outside, in the garden, or even mowing the lawn sometimes, or cleaning under the bed or whatever, just kind of like doing all these like weird movements that you don't ever do. I end up more sore than I would if I had run for 4 hours, and I think I just think that it's so good to like do that kind of stuff regularly for flexibility, for mobility, for little strength. I don't know. So I don't know that this is really going to help you build muscle over the age of 50, but I do think it's a good reminder to
this is how Karate Kid built his muscles, right? He had to stand there and do this for a long time, and then he probably was really sore at the end of that.
I bet.
He did a bunch of chores, but that was pretty serious chores he was doing. That was like all day stuff, not just a quick thing.
Yeah.
I just saw Karate Kid. This I think it was about 2 months ago.
The original?
Just saw it for the first time. That was one of those nerd things I stay away from and was not exposed to as a kid. Finally watched it.
Wait, so Karate Kid is you're putting Karate Kid in the same like
no,
category?
It's actually not. It's a very different category. That's the 80s kind of, not really cult hits, but just 80s hits.
Yeah.
Like the Goonies. I just didn't watch that either. Star Wars fits in there. That's also nerdy though.
Back to the Future. You're a huge Back to the Future fan.
Yeah, I don't know. I mostly missed a lot of movies. But anyway, saw Karate Kid and it was okay. Actually, it wasn't that good at all. It was really, as is the case with a lot of those movies that people loved when they were kids, and you watch them now. If you haven't seen them before, they're terrible.
Have you watched the Netflix show?
No, that's why we watched it, because Holden got into that show, and then he said, "Hey, let's watch this. Let's watch Karate Kid." No, I have not seen it. You?
Yeah, I watched the first season. I quite enjoyed it. I started the second one and was over it, but yeah, I don't know. It's one of those throwback things for me.
I appreciate that. I mean, I like a retro, nostalgic thing for sure. But
okay, a couple comments here.
Okay, let's do those and then we'll wrap up. We're not going to do non-dairy milk today. We were going to, but
okay. All right, let's see here. James then says, "Yeah, I agree with Aisha. Progressive may be adding weight once every couple of weeks, just as long as it's progressive overall."
So my plan that I'm on has essentially a forced increase every week for 8 weeks. But there's all these careful calculations to decide how big the jump should be, so that the 5 weeks in goal you're going to hit, and then after that you're sort of pushing 1 rep max a little bit. I don't know, and they don't say that's for only younger people, but it's carefully done. That's the thing with Tim Ferriss. That book, it was like, regardless of the exercise, it was 10 pounds or 10%, whichever is more. That's your increase each week, which was like insane. I mean, it's just very, very quickly you're into this range where like it's completely unsustainable.
Yeah,
mine is like 2.5 pounds on each side increases, and you start very low. So anyway,
but it's only for 8 weeks, so there's like an end.
Well, there is, but then in theory you would just start over, but you would retest, and then you'd probably get new numbers that are smaller increments to increase. So I mean, you're always trying to get stronger. Yeah. All right. What else?
Let's see. And Anne Marie. Yeah, I mostly agreed. It was all about finding balance. You don't want to get injured when you're over 50.
Echo chamber in here. Everyone just agreeing with each other. We need some dissenting opinions.
Yeah. Lots of love for Karate Kid.
Okay.
Cobra Kai. Mr. Jeffrey says that as you were talking about Karate Kid, I read my crossword clue Karate Kid sequel. I'm impressed that you can do crossword and listen to a podcast at the same time.
No, we've said that's what this is for. This is a podcast you don't need to listen to. You just put it
Well, I know, but just like words in, words out, words reading.
Yeah.
I don't know. It would be distracting to me, but
Yeah, I guess I didn't. I mean, I used to love crosswords, but really, since the internet has come around, I just haven't. It seems like it'd be so easy just to look up things now.
you could just
You
not
could
look
just not
them
look them
up,
up.
though.
Yeah, it's just we're so used to now. Like when you don't know something, you just look it up. Like that's just what you do. It's part of
Yeah,
like being
yeah,
a
yeah.
human.
Uh-huh.
So you're having to like pause your humanness for a while. Maybe that's the point.
Yeah.
I like it. All right, let's see.
I'll give shout out to KDC says I think this is her first time on YouTube. That's what I saw. Whoa, YouTube is way better than IG. So welcome to the light.
There you go. Let's KDC's other comment, just since it's the first time here. Said, I do gymnastics at my cross train, but I've noticed that generally with sprinters. Unfortunately, that was a long time ago, so I don't know what that is about. Oh, I think there was a conversation about, so we're just going backwards here.
Anne-Marie and Mr. Jeffrey are having a conversation right now about how they're both doing crossword puzzles. So, there's an unusually large percentage of our listener population, live listener population.
Right. I mean, I thought crossword puzzles were more or less dead. I thought Sudoku came along and dumbed down the whole crossword idea, and then there'd be no going back.
And then Wordle.
Yeah, again, more just.
Or is it Wordle?
Yeah, Wordle.
What's the one where you? Is it Wordle?
Yeah, the thing the New York Times bought and apparently somehow ruined.
Yeah.
Aisha says distance running and endurance sports make your body waste or pair muscle to be more efficient. Notice how sprinters actually are more muscular than most distance runners and bikers. So that's what KDC was referring to. But this reminds me of something. So Aisha's point is muscle doesn't help you with endurance running, right? It actually slows you down. If what you need to do is go a long way, then yes, your body's smart enough to get rid of that muscle over time because you don't need it. I have come across something recently, Doug. I forget where I read it. I think it was from this guy named Dan John, big lifting guy that I like. And he said, if it was him, that like I've said for a long time that when you run, like you can find someone off the street who's totally out of shape, but if they were a runner back in the day, they can go complete a half marathon. It's going to hurt, but like they can do it. Whereas if you just found like a random person who hadn't been a run, even someone who's pretty good shape, and you said, hey, go run a half marathon, they might not be able to. Because it's just hard. You learn that skill over time, it becomes easier. Well, what this guy said, I think it was Dan John, said that effect, that feeling, that is basically meaning that running becomes less good of an exercise for you. Like it's not once it becomes easy, like it's much less effective as a form of exercise. So if we know that running burns X amount of calories per hour, as you become a runner who can just easily do that, it just becomes much less valuable. And so apparently that's the reason for mixing things up and always having variety in your training and all this stuff.
Interesting.
I mean, it makes sense, right? Like if it gets easier to do, then it's probably easier to do because it's easier to do. So it's not going to have the same impact.
Is that the same? So is that assuming that you're running like the same pace for an hour every time, or like if you go faster or harder?
Yeah,
more hilly.
I don't know. Right, that's of course a good thing to wonder.
I mean, because
I think, but see, here's the thing. It used to be that like if I was going to run, this is when I was just starting running, maybe the first year or two. If I was going to run and I was going to run 3 miles, it didn't matter how slowly I went. Like that was going to be a hard thing at the end. Once you get a few years of running, you can go do 3 miles with nothing. I mean, and not even really barely break a sweat, not be breathing heavy, and you can run slow enough that it's not a problem. So I think that's maybe the trap that people can fall into. I've certainly done it. Where you just go out for the easy run. And we always talk about easy. We don't go easy enough on our easy days. So you can make it really slow and not really feel anything, and then feel like you're doing workouts, but maybe you're not doing that much.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that. I mean, the same would be said for lifting weights, right? Like if 35 pounds was heavy for a while and you just never moved on from 35 pounds, then like you're probably not doing anything good for yourself.
Yeah, right, for sure.
Or it's not as beneficial as if you increase the weight.
Yeah,
right?
and with running, my point was more outside of fitness, right? With the sort of independent of fitness, like your body just learns to do it more efficiently. So even when you're not in shape, it gets easier. I think the same thing happens with strength. I'm starting to understand that strength is a skill, can be developed, so that even when you lose some of that muscle, you can still lift more than someone else who now has the same amount of muscle because you've done it so many times and your body just knows how to efficiently do it. Anyway, just interesting concept. Hadn't heard it before, and good point. All right. Don't know how to remove Aisha's comment because I can't find it. Oh, there we go. All right. So, yeah, I guess that's it. Anything else today, Doug? Before we
No,
wrap it up?
I'm good. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
You guys inside the Discord?
I am not in there right now, but I will hop in there later today to say something. Yesterday, I went in there and said, "How everybody sees in the week" or something, and no one responded for a couple minutes. Then I left.
Got
upset.
Well, gotta seize that week. You know, they were too busy seizing the week. They were on Discord. Come on.
Well, anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing you in there in the lounge. I'm gonna change that to like the steam room or something.
Steam room.
Just so it sounds a little more casual.
Okay, I'm into that.
All right, good. Sounds good. Well, everyone, get in that Discord. Keep participating. Put questions in those new channels Doug added today. Ask us questions. Ask questions about plant-based, whatever, and other people can chime in and ask those.
Yeah,
and
please
answer things, whatever. Right? If there are advice questions, anyone should answer. Don't make it just about us because we only get in there a little bit here and there. If you're in there, you get a question or see a question, you know the answer, please chime in, help somebody out. That would be a great service this Discord could offer.
All right.
Okay.
Sounds great.
All right. Sounds good. We'll see everyone tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.